That's all you motherfuckers do is cry, bro. That's all they do on fucking Twitter. Well, I'm really black because my parents were here in 1945 and they know Martin Luther King. Shut the fuck up. That's why foreigners come to this country and laugh at you niggas, bro. Real talk. Chinese people come to this fucking country. You know what they do? They open up a fucking Chinese food spot in the hood. The Indian people, they go open up a convenience store in the hood. The Arabs, they come into the United States, they go put a fucking liquor store in the hood, and them niggas can't even drink. They laughing at you, stupid fucks. Because you guys come into the store, oh, hey son, let me get a pack of Hennessy. Yo, I only got 20 on me right now, bro. I know it's 50, but yo, do it, hook a brother up. No, come back again with the money. They laugh at you niggas because you guys were born here with the opportunity, and they're making a killing off you stupid fucks because you guys speak English, born here, raised here, U.S. citizenship, and you're still a fucking loser. Going into a foreign nigga store, buying the fucking alcohol, crying and complaining about why you're not where you want to be, but you're drunk all the time off of fucking Hennessy. That's the truth in the black community. That's the fucking truth. You choose to be a fucking loser. Okay? And I don't want to hear nothing because if I get pulled over by the police versus you get pulled over by the police, the only difference is that I'm not going to be a fucking retard. I know how to move. I'm going to tell him, how you doing, officer? I'm going to keep my fucking hands on the steering wheel. I'm not going to call him a fucking dirty pig and say all this other stupid shit. I'm going to walk off with no ticket. Your dumb ass is going to get in trouble because you want to sit there arguing with the police and say, defund the police, fuck the police, yeah. You create your reality based off of how you fucking behave, based off of how you act.
That was Myron from Fresh and Fit going on a rant about black people. Now, I think many people, including me, will agree on some of the accountability aspects of his rant, right? But the point he was trying to make from all the other stuff he was saying is bullshit. Let's start with the substance abuse. Studies have shown that black people consume alcohol at a similar rate as other race groups. Studies also suggest that white people actually drink the most, which includes binge drinking and heavy usage. So what is he talking about? He's making it seem like black people are in the hood all day just sipping Henny, and that's the problem with how he approached it because he's making it seem like this is unique to black people as if other groups don't do similar things. And that's what causes stereotypes and unnecessary barriers. And while we're on substances and unnecessary barriers, I might as well throw out there that the rate of drug usage is pretty much the same in many race groups as well. Yet black people get arrested way more for possession. And I know things are starting to change now with weed being legalized in some places, but these situations have occurred. And you know what happens when they get arrested for stuff like that? It makes the black person's ability to get employed much more difficult than a white person who smokes the same amount of weed. Not to mention having a record can affect the person's ability to get loans, to open businesses and whatnot. And while we're on the topic of businesses and loans, here's a study that was done in Chicago that I'd like to share to address his statements on other cultures setting up businesses in the black community.
Research shows that in some cases, non-black suppliers refuse to work with African-American entrepreneurs. Non-black customers feel uncomfortable purchasing goods and services from black-owned businesses, and banks reject startup loan applications from African-Americans because of the false belief that African-Americans are more likely to default on their loans.
And here's a little more.
Unlike the African Americans in my study, immigrant entrepreneurs relied on co-ethnic suppliers outside of Chicago, which expanded their ability to find appropriate suppliers at a reasonable price. The immigrant entrepreneur literature mentions extra local ties when discussing concepts such as transnationalism, in which immigrants maintain an economic relationship with suppliers back in their home countries. Many immigrants in my study, however, relied on international rather than transnational connections.
And here's a little more to explain that.
First, the geographic limits on many African Americans' trading partnerships segregate the larger social network of which African American business owners are a part. Combined with the segregation of African Americans in other domains of life, such as housing, this means that African Americans are less able to build social capital that provide important economic benefits.
I wonder why African Americans don't have a country that they could reach back out to. Oh, I know, because they were stripped of their culture and had to form one while dealing with an intense amount of racism that is unique to the black experience in this country. And that minimizes the connections that the community could have, regardless of what could have been formed within the country. So it's like the black community was pretty much cut off while having to deal with all kinds of barriers to progression, both economically and socially. I also want to mention that immigrants are more likely to be entrepreneurs than native-born Americans as a whole. So immigrants are starting businesses at a higher rate than other racial groups, not just African Americans. And by the time immigrants start families, their children become natives. So again, this includes all race groups. And let's not act as if African Americans for years didn't try to start businesses and communities just for it to be sabotaged and targeted. And since he brought up traffic stops, and I just spoke about that study in Chicago, I want to mention this. There have been so many studies that have proven that black people get pulled over at higher rates than white people. And before I hear,
what did the black people do?
Studies suggest that many of these stops were unnecessary. So yes, Myron, when a black guy is pulled over, he could be nice and polite. The fact they're getting stopped more, in some cases for no reason, that can likely explain why it's happening at a higher rate. In Chicago, there was a study that showed that out of 300,000 stops that were done, 62% of people were black. And black people only make up 30% of that city's population. 10% of those people that were pulled over were white people, while the others, I assume, are people of other racial groups. And this isn't only happening in Chicago. And also get this, because of these known biases, black men should probably be more cautious, right? That's strategic, so I understand. But you see, black people pay the same taxes, so they deserve the same amount of respect. So for a platform like Fresh and Fit, after that rant, he could have spoke on some of the discrimination that black people have to face to add a little more context to his argument, and apply to why he feels black people should move differently instead of coming off like he was on some racist conservative news show blaming black people for having habits that I just showed are similar to other race groups. So for the calm, collected black guy that listens to Fresh and Fit and Myron's rants as he's walking down the street and might think he's not like the black guy that Myron's describing, just remember why the term Karen became popular, because somebody could be watching and waiting to use those same stereotypes against you. Now, I believe Myron doesn't drink, and I want to give him credit because at times he gives some good advice, but I find it funny that he has such a disdain towards alcohol but runs a nightly, or I think a semi-nightly show where drinks are flowing. Not to mention he has rappers on the show, which I'm sure helps Fresh and Fit's exposure. And hip-hop's relationship with drinking and smoking these days is pretty clear. Not to mention having alcohol there, I'm sure it's probably escalated some situations more than they had to be. Fresh and Fit find themselves in a unique position because they have men of all races that watch their show. So for two black men who are not African American and whose family I'm not sure would have been affected by the slave trade and Jim Crow-like oppression, speaking about Myron, I think for them to speak on these type of topics this way is dangerous. And I'm sure every racial group has challenges of their own. So are they really going to deny that black people have a different experience in this country? And they speak to men, so I'm pretty sure they know that black men have a different experience in this country. They run a show where I'm sure dating disparities are brought up, and I'm sure they say that men with this height might have to do certain things to compensate in other areas. So why not approach this topic that way as well? Anyways, that's it for now. If you can, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm out.